Welcome to another day in the Matrix. This is Waters Above. I wanted to start out today's video with gratitude and appreciation for anyone who got my new expansion Mastermind. I've been receiving so much positive feedback over the past week. It's amazing to hear your experiences with the course so far. And since the launch of this course, I've went ahead and added an additional 18 course lessons, bringing even more value to this expansion Mastermind. And I wanted to answer a frequently asked question that I've been getting this week regarding the new course and something that I wanted to confirm. So this course is in fact a one-time payment for lifetime access. So anyone who joins will be locked in at the initial price, and you'll continue to see new course lessons added to the program automatically. No further action is needed once you join, and it is self-guided, so you can take your time, go at your own pace. This expansion mastermind is an ongoing project, and I'll continue to add new course lessons to it over time. So the link to the course is in the description of this video, and anyone who's a Patreon supporter of mine gets a 20% off discount. The promo code will be unlocked with your Patreon membership. Also, I've been getting a lot of interest in my weekly Red Pill podcasts that I release over on Patreon. So I decided to share one of those episodes for anyone who's interested. You can now watch Red Pill podcast number 74 completely for free over at watersabove.com/podcast. In this episode, I reviewed the charts of Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Chainlink, Cosmos, Theta Token, and Thorchain Rune. So I'm looking forward to you checking out that podcast. And if you enjoyed the episode, they are available every week at patreon.com/watersabove. It's included in any of my memberships. So I hope that helps answer those frequently asked questions, and enjoy the sneak peek of my new podcast. I think you'll really enjoy the behind the scenes videos that I'm cooking up for the Wolfpack. So in today's video, it's going to be a special one because I'll be doing technical analysis on the charts of Terra Luna, now called Terra Classic. And by popular demand, I'll also be going over HEX, sharing some key insights I'm seeing in those charts, and including any Gematria and numerology connections along the way. I know the HEX analysis is highly anticipated since the HEX community has recently connected with my work. I appreciate all your support. And as most of you are aware, I'm always focused on bringing the Wolfpack the most unique analysis available and sharing any words of wisdom on the projects I review. So if you're new here, we do cryptocurrency technical analysis and combine it with Gematria, numerology, and astrology to understand these markets. Feel free to subscribe and turn on the bell notification to stay updated on when new videos come out. And make sure to give this video a like and share this channel with other conscious beings to help grow our community. And with that being said, let's take the red pill. So first things first, we're going to be getting into a couple dates. We are aware that the full moon is going to be in 2 days. We have this harvest moon. And if we take this date and connect it to the date of Rosh Hashanah, so here we have September 10th over to Rosh Hashanah, the Hebrew New Year, or the end of the Shemitah, you can see that these 2 dates are 2 weeks and 2 days apart, another 22. And in my last Red Pill podcast I just released this past Sunday, I've shared a bunch of 22 connections, and the significance behind the 22 is not only because we are in the 22 year in the Gregorian system, but when we take the Hebrew year 5782 and add that together, we also have 22. 22 being the master builder, master destroyer. So this full moon is the harvest moon. So let's do a little bit of Gematria on that. And the reason, the significance behind Harvest Moon in Gematria with this 49 in Chaldean. So as some of you are aware, 49 is the square root of 7. So remember, we are in the year of the Shemitah, which has to do with the 7-year cycle. And on the 7th year, they have the sabbatical year. And I made a video talking about the Jubilee and how biblical Jubilee is practiced on 7 cycles of 7 Shemitah years. So that is 49 years. And then on the 50th year, they practice Jubilee. And I actually made a video over on my Patreon called The Jubilee Decoded. It's a 1-hour long video, and it's a part 2 to an initial video that I released called The Shemitah Decoded. So those 2 videos together are about over 2 hours in total, and it is breaking down so much information regarding this specific year and the importance of this year out of all the other years. So this 49 number is critical, and it's a big connection to all of the work that I've been sharing with you guys lately. So, of course, the harvest moon is happening in September because Shemitah is the release, and they practice this on the 7th year, and they do not tend to their agriculture. They don't actually harvest until the end of the Shemitah. That's really important as well because this has everything to do with Saturn, or Kronos, who is the god of harvest. So this is very important that everyone's seeing these connections here. And as well, we're aware that September, the prefix septem, actually means 7. And we recently just passed the 7th day of September, which should actually be 7/7 or 77. And this connects to the 77 of the upcoming Rosh Hashanah, again, having everything to do with this sabbatical year. And why this is so important is because this was the exact 1 year since the recent Rosh Hashanah. So what that means is we just completed a full year of the Shemitah, and because in the system of Judaism, they're practicing lunar and solar calendar together, they're practicing it so it's continually moving their new year. As opposed to the Gregorian system, our new year is fixed. It's always on January 1st. Well, in Judaism, they're moving it around due to the new moon, full moon. So that's really interesting, and it might clear up some things for some people who are wondering. Now, this, again, it happens on the new moon, by the way, to be very specific, but getting back to the point here, I was playing around a little bit in the charts, and I decided to go back to the 2021 start of the Shemitah, which was this exact date. So we just passed the official 1-year anniversary since the start of it, and I want to just pull a fractal and show you what I found. So I'm going to take a fractal from here around July 20th all the way up to the current all-time high, and then I'm going to go ahead and flip the fractal, which I don't normally do this too often. I'm not huge on fractal analysis, but I just wanted to have fun and show you guys something that I thought was pretty interesting. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to actually match I'm going to try to match the dates. So what I'm thinking is interesting is it would be somewhat of a match like this. So you see this recent move to the downside. I'm copying it to match this high. So we had this bigger correction. These were your lows, and then that was your Rosh Hashanah high. And anyone who was watching my work back then, you saw that all unfold, and we were keeping track of it month by month leading into the start of the Shemitah. Then we had this bigger correction. So if you see right here, this actually matches this right there, exactly September 7th to the current September 7th. And you can see there, because of the correction here, it is a flipped fractal, so it shows a little bit of relief, and then it shows continuation to the downside. So this would actually be somewhat expected, because in traditional markets, we always see at the end of the Shemitah, we're going to be going lower. And we know by now that anyone who does TA on the S&P particularly, or the NASDAQ, you know that there's more room to the downside for the indices. And if the indices go down, it's also likely that we see Bitcoin go down. And if Bitcoin goes down, we're going to see all the other cryptos go down. It's just how it continues to work month after month, year after year. It's not my opinion. That's what actually has happened. Do we have room for a change and a different story to unfold? Of course. Of course. With ISO 222, there's definitely room for some change here, with regulations looming, with, blockchain being part of the overall upcoming transition of our financial system, of course. But when we're looking at things like technical analysts, we need to pay attention to the charts, and everything else is secondary and tertiary. So this is very experimental analysis, and I'm by no means saying this is how this will play out. I just think the timing of it is so interesting, how we recently had a lunar cycle flip where we actually saw the recent new moon was quite bearish. And then what we have coming up now, again, we're coming through the full moon. And if anyone watched the Red Pill podcast that I shared some weeks back, I actually shared this exact move 1-for-1 a week before it happened. So this whole like W setup I actually shared. Can we continue to go lower from here? Absolutely. But it was something that I shared as a scenario, and it ended up actually unfolding. So I have not edited this chart since probably going on 3 weeks ago. And so far it's pretty amazing how we actually did pull back into the same territory that I was anticipating. Now, getting back to this fractal, what I enjoy about this fractal is the fact that you see where it comes down into the low of 14K. It's right around the November eclipse. And this is what I keep saying about the November eclipse and the significance behind it. So I just find it really interesting how this pumps up into the new moon of September, which is right around the end of the Shemitah. And then it sort of just keels over. Now, we don't need to follow the fractal, but I do find it just like an extra form of analysis that we could add to the overall picture to have something to consider. Kind of like an as above, so below sort of deal, where we have this was your high, this was your low, and then this recovery over here into a new all-time high could actually be the break of structure into a new cycle low, and then this will be the official cycle low before recovery. And anyone who does Wyckoff method would call that a selling climax. And if you follow Wyckoff, you know what comes after a selling climax is an automatic rally, which again, this would be play by play, very similar to how we've been talking about this market now for like the past 7, 8, maybe even like 9 months. Now, I was analyzing the 2014-2015 timeframe for Bitcoin in the Jubilee Decoded video that I told you guys about earlier, the one that's over on Patreon. And we spoke about how in the end of the Shemitah that happened in the last cycle, when it was really only Bitcoin and XRP, there was very few cryptos back then in the 2015 timeframe. But getting back to things, I do maybe Dash. There was probably some OG coins, but more importantly, Bitcoin was still running the show, and we were seeing Bitcoin actually had a recovery phase right into the end of the Shemitah. So I'm just super interested in how this is all going to play out, because structurally, we are kind of towing the line on this current move. No one can deny that. And I'll get into that deeper when we actually go through the specific TA on Bitcoin. So let's get back to looking at some of the Gematria. Now, one of the things that I was playing around with is harvest full moon. And one of the nice connections we're having here is that 201, like you guys are aware of event 201. But in numerology, you're going to remove that 0, and that's going to give you 21 again. This 21 keeps coming back to Saturn with that 21. And also you see that 69. I don't love to match ciphers that are, match numbers in different ciphers, but it is pretty interesting to see that harvest full moon is giving us that 69. And what is Bitcoin's all-time high? 69,000. How many Bitcoin are available in circulation? 21 million. So this keeps coming back to the same number sequencing that we're getting. And September has always been a very interesting month for Bitcoin. And the reason for that is because it is the month of Saturn. That is Satoshi. So this is paying homage. Now, September is a very important month for Bitcoin, and another important month would be December because we have Saturnalia. So we'll get to that when we get closer to December. But taking one thing at a time, I do find that 69 interesting because that's a number of balance, almost like the yin yang, right? And this balance, again, could be giving more insights into what I just shared with you guys about this as above, so below, where we have the September 7th high, and then recently September 7th being a low, and then kind of like, being a fractal repeat, but in a mirrored fashion, or a flipped version, actually. So lots to say here, lots of unique ideas, and I would love to know some of your thoughts in the comment section about what you guys are seeing with this. But again, that 201 matching the 21 that comes back to Saturn, that is again perfect because the harvest full moon is practiced in the month of Saturn. So one other thing to say is this is actually going to be the upcoming full moon is going to be the day before 9/11. The September 11th, and this will be the 21st anniversary of 9/11. So again, 21. And we've been talking about this for a while now, but one of the other things to mention that's going to segue really nicely into the two coins we're talking about today, HEX and Terra Luna, is the fact that we're still in the 36th week of the year. and the 36th week of the year ends with September 11th. And we know this number 36 shows up in the key cryptos. We have Bitcoin, we have 36 right there. We have Ethereum, we have the 36 in Chaldean. But furthermore, this number 36, you can break it down further, where if you look at 36, you could consider this 3 sixes, so that is 666, right? And this number comes back to carbon, and we won't go there today, but more importantly, I just wanted to discuss how HEX, this logo, is clearly showing us the 3 sixes, because a hexagon is a 6-sided polygon, and here we have 3 hexagons, effectively the 666. Now, I'm not saying that Richard Hart is a Satanist, or it has nothing to do with that. I'm just showing you the symbolism here. And hexagon is the symbol of Saturn. So I actually made a video about HEX a while back, talking a little bit more about the esoteric, breaking down some of the Gematria numerology and the connections to the logo. But even this color gradient pattern, there's a lot to be said here. There's so much little symbolism, and perhaps the creators of this project might not have even consciously went forth and did this. This might just be a completely natural outcome. Who knows? I definitely don't know. So what I do know is the symbolism and what's going on here. So with that 3 sixes connection, the fact that we're about to enter the 21st anniversary of 9/11 happening on a Shemitah year, meaning it happened on a Sabbath year, again in the month of September, the month of Saturn. I mean, then you have HEX with this 3 sixes, the 3 hexagons. Definitely there's a lot of confluence here. And if you go watch the last video that I made regarding HEX on YouTube a couple months back, you'll see Richard Hart in the logo, and I broke down some more stuff. So definitely go check that out. Now, the other connection to be made off of this is we were talking about the 21st anniversary of 9/11. And over here we have the Terra Classic all-time high being $119, the 9/11 in reverse. And what's really amazing is this happened on April 5th of 2022. So let me go to that date for you guys. Now you can see April 5th is giving you the 15 date numerology. Why that's so significant is because if you look at Luna, you're getting 15 in Chaldean. All right. Also, if you type in HEX, you're getting 15 in Chaldean. And this has everything to do with the connection to the year of the tiger with the 15. And remember, we had this amazing, move for Terra, for Luna, up until it finally crashed. And that crash that happened was right around May 15th, lunar eclipse. So Terra Luna collapsed around the total lunar eclipse. It's very important that you guys see that this was an astrological ritual. This had nothing to do with any of the theater that they were giving people regarding depegging of UST. I mean, that stuff happened, but I'm letting you know the ritual behind how it went. And if you pay attention to the way Do Kwon was coming out and acting around that time, he was acting the same way George Bush was acting when he was reading books to children when the fucking Twin Towers got hit. So just think, this is theatrics. And they give you these reasons, they give you all this theater, but when you learn the truth of this market, that this is all ritual that is done behind the scenes, but for you guys, when you know about Gematria numerology and these astrological connections, you can figure it out way ahead of time. For me, one of the big red lights behind Luna, back when it was doing really well, was the fact that it was doing so well. I mean, I even remember during the December 2021 eclipse, it was the only coin hitting an all-time high when everything else was actually having a correction. So again, another ritual. It's important that we pay attention to these little things regarding the astrology, because that's what gives the big volatile plays that most people have no reason for. They don't actually know how to explain them. And they throw out these terms like time in the market is better than timing the market, and I get that. That's true in a sense, but when you learn this esoteric perspective of how markets actually operate with the Shemitah year and the Hebrew calendar and everything else we talk about here, then you do have leverage. You do have a little bit of a cheat code almost onto what's happening here. And I hope that I could be, the deliverer of that education for people and take what I'm sharing and build off of it. because there's so many brilliant astrologers who follow my work, so many brilliant decoders who follow my work. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. That is what this is all about. It's about community. It's about coming together and being a mastermind. Everyone has their specialty, something that you're really interested in, and I appreciate every single one of you for sharing your information with us. So again, coming back to that 9/11 ritual that happened with Terra Luna, it hit 119 and then it collapsed literally 99.99% within days. Okay, so this is important that you see the numbers here and how it all played out. Again, all happening in the year of the tiger, tiger equaling 15, hex equaling 15, even Luna equaling 15. And if we type in Terra Classic, which is the new name, we can see 47, which is the 15th prime number. Again, all coming back to this specific year. When did that lunar eclipse happen that had a big correction for Terra Luna? It happened on the 15th of May. Okay? Super important that people pay attention to these number sequences. So let's get to the TA. It's going to be a longer video today, but it's important. So I went over this fractal analysis. Definitely interesting stuff. By no means any truth, but it is something to share. Perhaps you guys have your own insights. Now, this chart looks a little messy, but I just want to show you a new thing that I'm starting to see. First and foremost, we do have this red trend line, so just pay attention to this red trend line. I have not moved this trend line now for months. Look at where Bitcoin's been correcting to, perfectly continuing to bounce on this trend line. So even recently, yesterday and the day before, we had this bigger red candle and then another. Oh, really? Okay. So this red candle that happened on Bitcoin on the 6th of September, it was 5.06%, which is 56 in numerology, and BTC equals 56. I didn't even know that. I knew this code, but I didn't actually know that the candle was 5.06%. But this just goes to show you, we keep showing you guys this. One after, look at this big red candle here. It's 10.17%, which is 117, and Bitcoin equals 117. It's fixed. It's amazing. It's amazing. So getting back, we have some throwback levels. I'm keeping the chart the same. I don't want to, move it too much. I've only added one new thing, and I'll get to that in a moment. But this horizontal line that we had here has broken officially back on the 26th of August. We haven't actually back tested it yet, so I can't confirm that this throwback level has been back tested and a confirmed resistance that was a support. But in the meantime, it's still this red trend line that's maintaining as a support. And what I'm seeing is now we do have somewhat of like a falling wedge pattern. So I'm not huge into the patterns, but the falling wedge is actually typically a bullish reversal. So what that means is it's looking like it's continuing a downtrend, but when we have this so-called bear flag, that was this flagpole and this flag itself starting to break, looking like it will be a continuation, that's kind of the time that you anticipate a momentary shakeout. So I would not be surprised if this falling wedge did break bullish, hit its targets, and then rolled over into the November eclipse like I've been talking about forever. So we have a lot of time in between here and there. We're looking at 60 days, and a lot could happen in 60 days. So moving up into the the new moon, and then having a little bit of chop, perhaps even some action into October, like we saw in 1973, and I've talked about that a lot lately, and then rolling over into the November lunar eclipse. So we have this total lunar eclipse, which was the huge crash for Terra Luna and a bigger correction for the overall market, but November 7th is not only a total lunar eclipse, the same as the one in May, but it's after the Shemitah. And that is typically what we see in all the historic market crashes. I mean, even 1987, the infamous Black Monday, the one that was in the beginning of the movie Wolf of Wall Street, you saw that huge crash, which put Rothschild out, which was a huge institutional bank. I mean, they were over a century of time being in operation. That was a ritual, and it was right at that eclipse that happened in October, I believe. It's like October 19th, but it doesn't really matter. It just shows you that when we're in a Shemitah year and we complete the Shemitah, the eclipses that follow that, which will be the October and November ones, in our case right now, those are the ones you really want to pay attention to. Those are the ones that could bring some spice to the market. So let's continue. We have the falling wedge, typically a bullish breakout. Like I said before, let's look at some things because we do have a 5-day close tonight. So we do have the 5-day close. Oh, actually, the 5-day closed yesterday. Now, this is not a very bullish setup looking at that 5-day close because it's a bearish engulfing candle. So we see that this 5-day right here on the 24th did close on a new low in the structure, and we're still in continuation to the downside. So not the greatest thing to be seeing. And RSI is still kind of like, it's in the low 30s, but not really anything that dramatic. The market is actually quite low in volatility compared to where it could be. We know how crypto gets. And I believe there was a 2-day close as well. Yep, so the 2-day closed on essentially perfectly balanced at that candle right here. So you see right there, that would be your low, which comes in around 18,600. And the low we got yesterday was the close, was 19.3. And this close was 19. Oh, it's the same. It's matching. Now, this looks really awkward. I'm not entirely sure how this is possible that this green candle is looking like this. This must be a glitch on TradingView. But the more important thing is this closure did actually lead into just holding support. Not really anything dramatic, but this 5-day does not look good. And we always consider these macro candles of the 5-day, weekly, bi-weekly, etc. We would take those over the 2-day and 3-day any day of the week. But yeah, that structure does look a little awkward on the 2-day and 3-day. There must be a glitch on TradingView. Anyways, getting back to the importance of things, there is that descending wedge pattern that I do feel is showing itself. And I'm not really keen to be showing people patterns unless I feel like it's something to bring up. And that could be a possibility to get us into some of these throwback levels. And if you look at some of the throwback levels, let's just call it the lower tier ones, this one would be 22.6. I believe I had a chart before that I was showing one of the levels. Okay. So here we have a very interesting chart where we had the all-time high trend line into balancing all around these correction lows in the summer of last year into these rejection points, and we haven't actually come back to touch them, and that would be around 34,000. So that would be a hell of a buyback. I don't know if that would be happening anytime soon necessarily, but that does put us within the range of like these upper levels here of this parallel channel. I mean, that would be very awkward, but that is in the cards, perhaps even in Q1. If we were to see Bitcoin drop to 14K first, we could totally get to 34K after that very quickly. It sounds weird, but that's just how markets work. Like when we have these bigger drownouts, that's when you get these rallies. So you want to look out for moments like that. They're like a market reset almost would be like a perfect way of putting it. So I'm just going to quickly look at ETH, and then we're going to move on to Terra Luna and HEX. Now, the only thing I really want to go over with this Ethereum chart was the fact that I had this white trend line. I shared this with you guys in multiple videos. I actually drew it out in one of my videos for you. And look at yesterday's candle perfectly touching on this trend line and then bouncing. And not only bouncing, but actually closing on a newer high on the daily of the microstructure. So until we start closing dailies above 1700, I would not be looking for any like actual continuation, but it's a very interesting setup, how amazing this trend line was. So a bounce here can only be confirmed after we pass this high. So if we can get above 1700, this would confirm that bounce. And then you would actually probably anticipate Ethereum getting up to $1,900 at least one more time. So it's something to keep in mind. Now, one thing that I wanted to consider was the fact that there's clearly a shift in Bitcoin dominance right now. Like the altcoins are taking over. And there we go. So Bitcoin has just made a new low on Bitcoin dominance. And we're not, I'm sure the really low market cap coins might be benefiting a lot. It's obvious that Terra Luna has recently benefited a lot, and we're going to get into that in a moment. But this is an interesting setup, guys. The fact that we've finally broken down below these lows. And I had these green lines formed going back all the way to pretty much about March of 2022. So we're looking at a while ago. I was sharing this stuff over on the Trading Wolves Patreon membership talking about, recovery. And we did see recovery for Bitcoin dominance, but only up until about 48. Now, I will say this is something that I just noticed as I'm looking at this now. You see this high is about 47%, and this high was just slightly above it, 48.5. Well, it could be the same thing to the downside. You see how this low is 39, and right now we're just breaching 39%. Perhaps we just go down to like 38.5, and then we have it reverse and then kind of equilibrate. So we just got to see, because I don't think that this is going to continue where Bitcoin dominance continues to drown out like this, especially if if there's any continued downside for the market, if Bitcoin decides to break 18,000 and continue down 17, 16, 15K, you're going to see a lot of that liquidity actually shift back into Bitcoin and perhaps also ETH, because all these ERC20 shitcoins, that money needs to go somewhere. It's probably going to ETH out. It's probably going to tether out USDC perhaps, but definitely Bitcoin is the common theme here. During any big market crashes, you typically see that happen. And you could go back in the past and just study that yourself. So let's move on. We got first order is Luna. So I wanted to show something with you guys, something that could be an interesting setup. It's really hard to do TA on this chart, and I actually did recently just do some TA on Luna in the last Red Pill podcast because it was highly voted on, and I let the members vote on the altcoins that I look at in the Red Pill podcasts. And one of the things that I did was I went ahead and I marked off the 1618, which is the golden ratio, Fibonacci golden ratio, and told everyone that's a level to look for if we start closing dailies above the 888. So in this situation right here, we have a wick right there on May 14th, and I pulled the fib from this swing high down to the swing low from left to right, and these fibs are based in the log scale on a logarithmic chart. And it's typical that once you break through the golden pocket and actually start backtesting the top of the 786, then you follow with a close above the 888 fib. That is where you start seeing, moves to the 1618. Now, this is something you just need to be open-minded to, because we had a 99.99% correction. So we're talking about TA is kind of out of the window for the most part, but I'm doing my best with what I'm working with very limited data, being calm and just delivering you what I'm seeing in the charts right now. So I don't want anyone to think that, again, as a technical analyst, I need data. There's not a lot of data here, but let me just show you these moving averages. So look at this. That right there is the 55 symbol moving average. It is falling like a straight line. So again, not a lot of data, because this thing switched. It went from being $100 plus to being less than a fraction of a penny. So one of the things that I'm seeing here that's really important, and I know the wolf pack probably knows this already, but we got a wolf cross right there where the 8 symbol has crossed above that 55, and it's happened after at least, we're talking about 60 days, about 2 months of sideways trading, holding the 236, which is a key level. Talk about it all the time. Now, after you get a wolf cross plus you're closing above the 888, now all you really need is a new high. So we actually wicked perfectly today into the high of May 14th. So, any closures above 00061, and you're talking about this should probably go to the 1618 fairly quickly, because there's thin air. So let me show you some of the other things that I'm noticing. And again, I have very limited data, but I just want to help you guys see this from my perspective. So here we are on the 8-hour chart. And you could actually see that we have thin air until we get to about 002. So that's right here. From this to there. And I'll zoom in and I'll show you what the hell I'm talking about, because it's really hard to see. This right there is an area that we pretty much have thin air until that move. So that's 2 cents. Sorry, I apologize. I meant 002. Up until about 4 cents. So this is a very weird range, because that's from that 1618 all the way up to this 2618. So I'm saying that this stuff could happen fast, guys, because it fell very fast and there's no trading range between these areas. So right now we're in the main trading range. Who knows if this is a cup and handle that comes down again into the bottom of the golden pocket and continues. Again, we have very limited data. But with that being said, any closes, either the 8-hour or 12-hour closes above this 1618, as long as things are looking good in the overall market, I do anticipate we could see continuation for Luna over a penny into 2 cents. And I mean, we're really talking there's no data for this until we start getting to like, 1 cent, 2 cents. That's a huge move. So, for 40,000, 30,000%. That's what some coins do in an entire bull run. And this could be doing this in merely weeks. We just have to see how it plays out. So again, if we start seeing breaks above this 1618, that's your target to start anticipating about 2 cents. And that would be a mind-blowing move. Just that would be mind-blowing. And I'm sure anyone who built a position in this lower, you're probably happy. Now, 99% of people that are invested in this are holding positions that were built up here. So you would need moves into, $3, $5, $10 to even start seeing a break even. So this is more TA for the people that have recently started getting into this project, started building positions while it's been down. For those of you that were in it for a while and you're still holding coin, I mean, you really just should probably wait this out. Not financial advice. I'm not telling you what to do, but I mean, you're kind of like, if you didn't panic sell or you didn't take advantage of any of the profits that you experienced, it's just part of being in crypto, guys. I remember being very thorough in many Red Pill podcasts telling people to watch out for Solana and Terra Luna. And it seemed that those were the two coins that we nailed the most accurate TA on. Every time we shared an upside target, all of it was being hit. And then when it rolled over for Sol, it was really actually quite nice to see because that coin needed to chill out for a little bit. But when we saw this huge crash on Luna, that was really a confirmation of how powerful the eclipses are and how powerful this esoteric concept to the market is, and it needs to be taken seriously. So I hope that helps, guys. Again, final thing to say, because we're probably not going to cover this coin for a while. Anything over the 1618, you probably anticipate moves into a penny as high as 4 cents. And after that, you kind of just have to take it one step at a time because there's thin air. We're talking about, look at this huge move. Pretty much from this level right here, I'll show you the horizontal level and then we'll move on to HEX. Boom. 27 cents. It could be thin air until 27 and then it could treat that as a bottom. As a resistance level, because that's all the trading you have going back to 2020. And that would be one of the most insane moves ever for a coin that's already lost 99.99 or pretty much almost 100% of its value. That'd be 330,000% gains. Good luck. Let's move on. And here we are in the wolf pack. We're not picking sides. We're not joining cults of any sort. The market is the market. Invest in what you believe in. Have a thorough investment thesis that you designed. No one's here to be a Bitcoin maxi or a hexagon or any of that stuff. Like, if that's something you resonate with, great. But here in the Wolfpack and what I am doing, waters above, I am playing my own, reality here. An individual leader who is looking through the lenses of what is best for me and not the group think. So even when we start getting into these things, it's important that you take a step back and that whatever I share, it's not to offend you. It's not to hurt your feelings on a coin that you like. I have zero emotion in this market. I am here, and you should also be here to learn how to figure this market out, take advantage of it, make it a good experience for yourself. It's the emotional thing and the group think that gets people caught up and sucked into these things and what kind of ruins them over time. So what we're about to get into, again, just be open-minded and take it as sharing words of wisdom, not picking sides. So HEX daily chart, we have a lot going on here. I'm sorry if this looks confusing. Some of you might have come over to my work from Crypto Coffee. Me and him have done 2 interviews. He does mostly HEX videos, and I shared 2 fibs before we even saw a bigger correction. One of them was this fib right here where I pulled from this swing low on March 16th of 2022 to this swing high of the all-time high. Then I identified the 1618 and I told everyone how we're probably coming down to that level and swooping down as low as the 2 cent, 3 cent range. That all came to fruition. We shared that before it even happened. So after we got that move, I was exposing a very key point, and this comes back to some of the esoteric information. Here, this wick on the 26th, I know this might be hard to see, but there's a huge flash wick, and then it got bought back up. Well, this flash was 0.037, so about 3 pennies, but remember 0.37. Okay, now if you go to this high right here that came in on the 13th, the high is 073, the mirror of 37. And I was telling you guys over here in my last video that I did about HEX, the importance of the number 37 and 73. Why? Because HEX equals 37 in Gematria. So we already talked about this number, and how incredible is it that this topped out after this bigger correction at 7.3, 7 cents, but exactly 0.073. That's insane. It just shows you how this code is running the market. I'm not out here saying that a human is doing it. It's clearly an algorithm, but knowing this code could really help guys. So we can go back and prove in that video that I made about that exact number, and I shared why it happened. And then here we are some months later with the mirror of that number happening on the exact pivot high. And then after hitting that pivot, rolling over, okay? So pay attention to this stuff, guys. I know a lot of people who came over from the HEX community. Some of them were super open-minded, but some of them were a little bit like, no, this is crazy. This doesn't make any sense. And I expect that, actually. If I heard somebody talking about Gematria and numbers like this, and I had no idea, I would probably be apprehensive. But when we're seeing it play out in the charts, just, again, listen with your heart, not your mind, because sometimes the mind can get in the way of things and prevent you from actually absorbing truth. So the secondary fib that I shared was from this all-time high to the current all-time, or the current cycle low, which is down here. I'll delete this and I'll make it look clearer for you. So you see I'm pulling a traditional fib from the swing high down to the swing low, and you see this 236 target is actually labeled off, and we've actually come up and hit that level. We almost got to the 382. So what I want to share right now is we have two things. One, potentially the 382 is in play, or this trend line, and the reason this trend line is because we've had 3 official rejections. Now, the fact that we got these 3 rejections and then a further dump, that kind of calls the trend line perfect, because 3 touch points is kind of when you want to start looking at patterns or trend lines. So we have 1, 2, 3, huge dump, okay? And thus far, we've seen HEX have a correction of about 94%. That's about what I like to see with an altcoin. About 95 to 99% is typically what we get with any altcoin. And again, we've been talking about this for over a year now. If Ethereum corrected 95% and XRP corrected 95% back in 2018, what makes you think any other coin won't? And here we are with even HEX having a 95% correction. But I like that. I personally like to see that because that's a great opportunity. And I even shared on the Crypto Coffee interview, the day before this bigger move, this bigger flash happened, was when that interview happened, coincidentally. I shared with them that I think that this is an amazing buying opportunity, anything under 3 cents. I thought it was insane. I mean, even off that bounce, if you were to consider that, we're looking at, an additional 100% or doubling your money. But getting back to things, the fact that we've actually hit this 236 and started to correct down, we need to see if this will continue a higher low structure. So we do so far have higher lows, but we can't confirm that until we pass this top. We would have to pass 7 cents. So this tells you the next upside level is most likely this 382, which would be in confluence with this trend line. Now, who knows how that'll play itself out? It doesn't have to happen now. HEX could actually double bottom, go down to 2 cents again, and then have the recovery, kind of looking like a big W pattern, which is a bullish breakout. Now, you can see I have one more red line at the bottom. This is around right around 2 cents. And you see SC. That is for selling climax. So what I was calling this whole move through the end of the year, the spring in the micro or the macro selling climax. And in any market, the selling climax could take a little time, just because you need all the retail to leave. So I know I'm not talking about pulse HEX and all the other things that are going on. I'm just doing my best to share what I'm seeing with this, and you guys could apply this to any other charts that you're interested in, but this is the overall TA strategy here. So I'm looking at this area as the overall selling climax, and that could look like something like this, pretty much into November, hitting that level, and then having a spring action getting rejected maybe at this level, which would look like a double top on these two local highs, and then maybe start forming some structure and then lead to what we call an automatic rally. And that could come probably this time, probably next summer. And then it would lead you into this golden pocket territory somewhere around 17 cents. So that would be giving you this opportunity, and it would almost look like a big inverse head and shoulders where you have your left shoulder head, right shoulder continuation, and move up to the golden pocket. So I'm going to leave it at that. I know it's a super long video. This is really an interesting time right now where I do want people to kind of be a little bit calmer and patient with this market because we're in the final moments of the Shemitah. We're looking at, just a couple of days away before the end of this thing. So just be calm. We have less than 3 weeks to go. I hope that this longer format video has given you a lot of insight and information into some other things that I got going on. Again, that Red Pill podcast, definitely check that out because today I gave you guys 2 additional coins that I don't talk about too often. And in this Red Pill podcast, you could watch my TA on about 4 different altcoins, and just giving you as much value as I possibly can. And if you enjoyed it, you could always consider joining the Patreon. It is starting at $9.99 a month, and it includes all of this stuff, not only the podcast, but our Discord server, all of the access to my live stream archive, and then you get the biggest discounts on my courses. And like I said, I do have that new expansion mastermind just released, has almost 70 videos right now, and Patreon members get $50 off whenever they join the Patreon membership. So I appreciate all your guys' support. Wishing you all an incredible rest of your week. I'll catch you in the Red Pill podcast this weekend. Much love.